Mitsubishi Power Aero is using jet engines, turbines,
Sure.
to do power generation. So what kind of levels of power are we talking about here?
Our products range between 30 megawatts and 140. Maybe a good analogy of what we do for SUSECON is we're like the auto-scaling infrastructure for the power grid.
I understand that Mitsubishi Power Aero is basically a global company. So you actually monitor these power generation stations that you guys provide on a global basis. In our conversation yesterday, I noticed that you said that this could be considered critical infrastructure for a given industry, a given nation state. So how does the SUSE solution for the edge help you with addressing security from a compliance perspective? And then we could talk about the actual monitoring and operational piece as well.
Sure. I mean, there's lots of layers to what you just asked. On the security aspect, how our units are deployed around the world, the power producers that we provide equipment to are in all sorts of different environments and all sorts of different compliance and regulations that they need to meet. We also try to, as remote monitoring, try to say yes to them in providing our services and making sure that we can play ball with their corporate IT and whatever regulatory compliance they have. And essentially, it's having SUSE as the back end with SL Micro and RK2 as our base cloud-native edge infrastructure gives us like something that's very easy to pivot and sort of massage into whatever the customer needs so that they're compliant, everything's safe, and we're all happy.
Yeah. We were talking about some of the very extreme locations and environments that your equipment operates in.
Sure.
I would imagine it would be very hard to do a truck roll to one of these locations. So how does the connectivity and the monitoring and operational efficiency help you there?
Sure. I mean, one of the big things that remote monitoring does, or I think the core business function that we have, is our company has like engineers with decades of experience in the aerospace market. They've been living and breathing aerospace, aeroderivative gas turbines for decades, even longer than SUSE has offered enterprise Linux, believe it or not. And bring that human intelligence out to whatever part of the world where we support power grid infrastructure is critical. And essentially being able to like take these plants that go all the way back from like the 1980s to today with all sorts of legacy systems that we gather data from, and being able to sort all that data to standardized sort of labeling and infrastructure and pushing it real time back to us so that our engineers back home can pick up the phone and help these operators of these power plants right at the go is like super critical. We're, if you will, like Archimedes once said, take a big enough lever and you can move the world. Remote monitoring, we're the lever, the engineers move that lever, and in this case, the lever's on a fulcrum, and the fulcrum is the SUSE Edge suite.
Wonderful. That's brilliant. Thank you. And I think you'd be okay with a 400-year life cycle management that Rick mentioned for Linux, right?
Yes.
So looking toward the future, speaking of 400 years in the future, what's next for you guys, and how can SUSE help and co-innovate with you?
I mean, the biggest shift that we've done is we used to use SCADA systems for our remote monitoring infrastructure, and we've sort of transitioned to a more cloud native and taking our tools and containerizing them. And that allows us to sort of like have a very standardized infrastructure. And I think that the future is like further developing that, and the rest of the power generation infrastructure, I think, is going to go the same way. You need to have this kind of much more modular approach to things because environments are very diverse these days. There's a lot of legacy equipment running out there that you still need to maintain compliant and be relatively secure, and having these sort of like containerized modules that you can run everything from is sort of like key. I think it's the way forward.
Excellent. Well, Max, thank you so much for joining us and coming out here.